Have you ever noticed how hard it is to simply stop? Not slow down, not rest for a moment, but actually do nothing? Have you ever wondered why sitting still, closing your eyes, or letting your mind go quiet feels almost impossible? Why doing absolutely nothing makes you anxious, guilty, or restless, as if the world will fall apart if you're not constantly moving, thinking, scrolling, planning, or accomplishing something? Here's the strange part. If doing nothing feels uncomfortable for you, it's not because there's something wrong with you. It's because modern life has trained your brain to reject stillness. And yet, stillness is exactly what your mind is starving for. The truth is as shocking as it is simple. Doing nothing might be the most productive thing you can possibly do. If that idea feels confusing, that's because you've been conditioned your entire life to believe that productivity comes from action, movement, and effort. We live in a world where value is measured in output, where your worth is tied to how much you can achieve, how fast you can move, and how busy you appear. But what if the most powerful, transformative form of productivity isn't found in doing more, but in stopping completely? What if the very thing you've been avoiding, silence, emptiness, boredom, stillness, is the key to creativity, clarity, emotional healing, and long-term performance? This isn't philosophy, it's neuroscience, it's psychology, it's biology, it's human nature. And if you listen closely, the idea of doing nothing will start to feel less like laziness and more like a profound skill most people have forgotten how to practice. Doing nothing isn't the absence of activity, it's the presence of awareness. It's the moment your mind moves from chaos to order, from noise to signal, from stress to clarity. When you stop, your brain shifts into a mode it rarely gets access to, the default mode network, the system responsible for self-reflection, emotional processing, creativity, problem-solving, meaning-making, and deep psychological restoration. This is the mode where ideas form, where memories organize themselves, where you understand yourself, where you heal, and where your mind resets. Without activating this network regularly, your brain becomes overstimulated, overwhelmed, and fragmented. You become tired, unfocused, irritable, and emotionally drained. You stop thinking clearly. You stop being creative. You stop knowing what you feel. In other words, doing nothing is not useless, it's maintenance. But here's the problem. Modern life almost never allows your brain to enter this mode naturally. The constant pull of the digital world, the pressure to be constantly available, the need to perform, the fear of missing out, and the subtle guilt you feel anytime you rest, all of it works against your ability to disconnect. Most people haven't experienced real stillness in years. They don't sit quietly, they don't stare out of windows, they don't let their thoughts wander, they don't experience true boredom. And because of that, their minds are always running on the surface, never sinking, never resting, never clearing. Have you ever wondered why your best ideas appear in the shower? Why solutions come to you while driving? Why inspiration hits you when you're lying in bed half asleep? It's because in those rare moments, your brain enters the one state it barely gets any more nothingness: silence, mental openness. This is the space where creativity lives. This is where intuition forms. This is where ideas reconnect. This is where your mind breathes. People think doing nothing is a waste of time, but the truth is, constant action is what wastes your potential. When your brain is overloaded with information and tasks, it can't integrate anything. It can't process emotions. It can't generate insight. It can't connect ideas. It can't rest. It becomes like an engine running nonstop, hot, stressed, inefficient, and close to breaking down. But the moment you allow yourself to stop, the engine cools, the system resets, and your mind begins to work the way it was always meant to. Doing nothing is productive because it collapses the false belief that effort equals value. Sometimes the most important growth happens in silence. Your nervous system regulates itself in quiet. Your stress hormones drop in stillness. Your emotional clarity rises when distractions fall away. Your creativity thrives when your mind is unoccupied. People underestimate how much work the brain does when you're not doing anything. It processes your past, it prepares your future, it organizes your present, it solves problems you haven't expressed, it heals wounds you haven't acknowledged. It generates ideas you didn't know you had. Think about what happens when you're busy all the time. You feel pressure, you feel scattered, you feel behind, you feel exhausted, you feel like you're sprinting mentally even when you're sitting still. That's because your mind never stops receiving input notifications, conversations, tasks, updates, messages, responsibilities, content. When you constantly feed the brain information, it never gets the chance to digest it. Imagine eating every hour without giving your stomach time to process anything. You'd feel sick. That's what people are doing to their minds. Doing nothing gives your mind the digestion time it desperately needs. Psychology also shows that the discomfort people feel when doing nothing isn't a sign that they're lazy or unproductive. It's a sign that they're overstimulated. When the brain becomes used to constant inputs, silence feels like withdrawal. You're not addicted to productivity, you're addicted to stimulation. And doing nothing feels like cutting off the drug. It's not comfortable, it's not easy, but it is necessary. Stillness forces you to face your internal world. And that's why people avoid it. When you stop distracting yourself, your mind shows you what you've been running from: the unresolved emotions, the unprocessed thoughts, the uncomfortable truths, the stress you've been suppressing, the sadness you've been carrying, the confusion you haven't acknowledged. This is why silence feels so loud. Doing nothing doesn't create discomfort, it reveals the discomfort already inside you. And that is exactly why it's productive. You cannot heal what you never allow yourself to feel. You cannot understand what you refuse to examine. You cannot grow when you avoid stillness. The mind can't clean itself while you're busy. One of the most powerful things doing nothing gives you is clarity. When you stop, your mind rises above the noise and can finally see what matters. You realize which problems are real and which ones are imagined, which people drain you and which people support you, which goals matter and which ones are illusions. Stillness exposes the truth, and truth is the foundation of every good decision you will ever make. People who never stop end up living reactive lives. They run on autopilot, they chase distractions, they chase goals they don't care about, they follow routines that drain them, they stay stuck in relationships that hurt them. They don't have the space to evaluate anything. Doing nothing gives you that space. Consider how athletes train. They have rest days, they recover, because without recovery, the body breaks. The mind works the same way. Creativity works the same way. Emotional resilience works the same way. Productivity is not a constant state. It is a rhythm, and a rhythm requires pauses, breaks, empty spaces, gaps. Doing nothing is the gap that restores the rhythm. But here's what most people don't realize. Doing nothing actually improves your performance when you return to action. After stillness, your mind becomes sharper. Your attention resets, your memory improves, your patience increases, your problem solving expands, your creativity lifts, your emotional control stabilizes. You work faster, make fewer mistakes, and think more clearly. In other words, doing nothing saves you time later. It compresses effort, it amplifies efficiency, it allows you to do more with less. Silence is the secret to speed. Stillness is the foundation of action. Rest is a tool. Doing nothing is a strategy. Psychologists also discovered something fascinating. Boredom is essential for a healthy mind, but boredom barely exists anymore. People fill every empty moment with screens, scrolling, tapping, watching, checking, refreshing. The brain never wanders. And when the mind never wanders, it never creates. Boredom is the birthplace of imagination. It is the window through which new ideas enter. Without boredom, creativity suffocates. Doing nothing gives boredom space to breathe. Even deeper, doing nothing reconnects you with your identity. When you stop filling your mind with external noise, your inner voice gets louder. You start hearing your intuition. You start remembering what you want. You start noticing what drains you. You start recognizing what you've been avoiding. Stillness turns your attention inward, back to yourself, back to your needs, back to your truth. This is why people have life-changing realizations in moments of quiet. They suddenly understand what they must leave behind, what they must pursue, who they must become. These insights are not random, they are the result of mental stillness. Doing nothing creates the conditions for self-knowledge. But perhaps the most powerful benefit of doing nothing is emotional regulation. When you stop, your nervous system calms. Your fight or flight response turns off. Your heart rate stabilizes. Your breathing deepens. Your body enters a state of rest and repair. This is where emotional wounds heal. This is where your body processes stress. This is where your mind resets its emotional balance. People underestimate the physical damage caused by constant activity. Rest is not laziness, it is biological necessity. Your brain is not designed to be active nonstop. Doing nothing is literally how the brain repairs itself. Now you might be thinking, if doing nothing is so powerful, why does it feel so wrong? Why does resting make you feel unproductive, guilty, or anxious? The answer is simple. Society glorifies busyness. People feel pressure to stay active, to stay visible, to stay relevant. Productivity culture teaches you that your worth is tied to your output, that rest is wasted time, and that silence is unproductive. You've been conditioned to believe that stillness equals failure. But the truth is, constant motion leads to burnout, frustration, mistakes, emotional numbness, and poor decisions. Stillness leads to clarity, strength, creativity, and emotional intelligence. Doing nothing is not avoiding life. It is preparing yourself to engage with life more fully. Here's the deeper truth most people don't want to hear. People stay busy because they are afraid. Afraid of their thoughts, afraid of their emotions, afraid of what silence will reveal. Doing nothing strips away distraction. It forces you to sit with your own mind, and that is terrifying for people who haven't listened to themselves in years. But facing yourself is the greatest act of courage you can take, and stillness is the doorway. When you allow yourself to do nothing, you are telling your mind, I am safe. I can stop. I don't need to earn my worth. This changes everything. Your stress drops. Your priorities shift. Your emotional energy returns. You stop chasing things that don't matter. You stop running from yourself. You start creating a life that feels like yours. This is why doing nothing is so productive. It destroys the illusion that productivity is about constant motion. Productivity is about direction, clarity, energy, meaning, and emotional balance. Doing nothing builds all of those. If you want to change your life, schedule stillness. If you want clarity, schedule boredom. If you want creativity, schedule silence. If you want emotional balance, schedule emptiness. If you want true productivity, schedule doing nothing. Stillness is not the opposite of productivity, it is the source of it. In a world that moves too fast, doing nothing may be the bravest, smartest, and most productive thing you ever do. Not because stillness accomplishes tasks, but because it restores the mind that completes them. Not because silence creates results, but because silence reshapes the person who produces them. Doing nothing is not a break from productivity. It is the foundation of it. So the next time you feel guilty for stopping, remember this. Your brain is doing its most important work when it appears to be doing nothing at all. Your mind is healing, integrating, resetting, creating, understanding, preparing. Doing nothing is not wasting time. Doing nothing is how you reclaim it.